Thanks for joining. This is Live with the Miami's Community News, and I'm Michael Miller. Our very special guest today is Kristen Rosen Gonzalez. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I was in the neighborhood and I called up the community newspaper and I said, I would love to come over and see you guys.
All right. So you've been a City of Miami Beach commissioner for how long now?
Since 2015, a very long time in local politics.
It really is neat. That's 10 years you've been there.
Well, from 19 to 21, I was not in office.
A little short period of time.
But it does give me a lot of perspective, and I've learned a lot in 10 years.
So those 2 years that you were out, what was it like for you?
It was a pandemic.
All right.
And that's when I started doing a podcast. But it was very interesting to see how politics and commission meetings, everything transferred onto Zoom. And then Zoom became ubiquitous during that time.
Yes. So 2 years you were out.
Yes.
What was it like for you emotionally inside? Like, I didn't miss it, but maybe I really did. But tell us about that.
I love representing our community. And, I won some elections and I lost some elections. And I'm better for any time that I've lost anything in my life. It's the resiliency. The next day you just say, I'm going to do a better job. I'm going to advocate for my community. And some of the best work that I've done, I did when I was not a commissioner. I would call up land use meetings that I can't do right now. And I would advocate on the Historic Preservation Board as a resident. And I was able to get a better project at the Raleigh that's now being built. And I believe I advocated for the Shelbourne too. So, I was always, I saved the parking department when I wasn't on the commission. And that was tough work.
Sort of like a kingmaker.
Yeah, well, it was like being a lobbyist, and I knew what lobbyists had done, so I could call people. And at the time, they wanted to privatize the parking department, and I knew that was going to be terrible for the residents because we were going to get ticketed for profit. And I thought that's awful. So I was successful in doing that. And the CWA union remembers that, and so does the whole parking department.
So going back a few years, you went to Berry College. It's now called Berry College versus Berry University.
I went to Tufts University for my undergraduate. And then while I was raising my children, I did go to Berry University and I got a master's degree and then I got a PhD. My master's is in communication. My PhD is in leadership.
Okay. I want all the little girls to know out there that they too can get their PhD if they really want it.
It is tough. You take all your classes and you think, I'm flying through this, I'm going to get this doctorate, and then you get to the dissertation stage, and that is where for 2 years you have a committee and your research project and you have to defend it and change it, and it's a hazing of sorts to get your doctorate. But I'm Dr. Rosen Gonzalez.
So because they don't want to make it easy, because if they made it easy, then everybody would have one.
Yes.
And then what's the purpose of that? So you have 3 adult children. They're adults now?
I do. My youngest just went off to law school in Vermont to study environmental law. My son's working on a data analytics degree.
Something like that.
And my daughter Isabella works in Miami Beach, and she's out of school. She's doing great.
And how many years of your life have you spent on Miami Beach?
Well, I was born on Miami Beach, but I haven't always...
Born on Miami Beach?
Well, actually, my parents met at the Fontainebleau. So even before conception, their first meeting was at the Fontainebleau, where my dad picked my mom up in the lobby. And then technically, I lived when I was born in Sunny Isles. Before it was Sunny Isles, it was just unincorporated Dade County. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, where there was Motel Row and...
all the single-story, 50-year-old buildings.
Everybody, there was a card room, and everyone was in the card room. And it was wonderful growing up, playing in this... swimming every day and without cell phones and technology. I really enjoyed a wonderful childhood.
Let's talk about, you've been a City of Miami Beach commissioner for years. Now you want to run for mayor, or you are running for, not one.
I am running for mayor, and it's almost election time. And that's the craziest thing. People don't realize this, but the ballots within 3 weeks will be arriving at people's homes. So if people have not registered for a vote by mail ballot, all of the voter rolls, I believe, were purged for a state law. So people need to re-register. They don't know that. So you should probably do a voter registration push. And people don't even know about these elections and off-election years. So, but they do, because I have an email list and I email my residents all the time, and I've been doing that for years, and they read it. So
prior to this moment, you represented a district.
No, Miami
that's
Beach is at large.
At large, but
Miami
even though
Beach
it's
is 1st to 88th Street,
Okay.
86th Street. Excuse
So
me.
in this particular run, it's for mayor. People may have had a lot of confidence in you and with you for commission. Why should they vote for you as mayor when you're supposedly the mayor's in charge? But sometimes we know that's not the case.
I've never been more prepared for the job than I am right now, because I have matured and I've learned to listen and compromise and elevate my colleagues and team build and have an open door. And that's really the opposite of the current mayor. He's just getting his feet wet now. But, you know, I do think I have a lot to offer. And I understand how our community works, how our political system with all of our different committees. It took me years to really understand how politics works. That's why sometimes when people talk about term limits, you get thrown into a job. There's no orientation for an elected official. You go from being a regular citizen, election night you win, and there's no handbook. Like, here's what you do as a commissioner. So you have people around you advising you. And it took me a long time to be able to step back and say, okay, do I agree with all of these people that are advising me? And so that's what politicians face.
So what are some of the major concerns of some of the people you've been speaking to, residents and voters of Miami Beach?
Well, we worked really hard to get our community safe and secure. And that was a combination of marketing, which was really the best thing we did, $250,000 for breaking up with spring break. But our commercial businesses have suffered a little bit because we don't have as much nightlife as we once did. And we still have a long ways to go. Aggravated assaults on Miami Beach, believe it or not, at a time when violent crime is down in City of Miami, Miami-Dade County, nationwide, violent crime in Miami Beach is up by 10%.
So let's talk about those events a couple of years ago when you could see the videos of people being shot and people shooting them. So we're over here going, well, that's just Miami Beach. It's interesting on how so many people, myself included, well, that's their problem over there. And we got so many people just got desensitized to it.
Well, we couldn't police our way out of it. And really what worked and what went viral and got billions of views was a $250,000 campaign. It was called Breaking Up with Spring Break. And we targeted, everyone on social media and said, you have to follow the law in Miami Beach. And it really worked. And we cracked down on the law. We called the governor and we said, Governor, come down here and help us with this. And he did. And we got the Florida, state patrollers were out there saying, you don't mess with the law.
Since you brought up a state office, let's talk about Florida Department of Transportation. They recently told the city, hey, you know that stuff you got on the public streets, right, which is rainbow for LGBTQ, right? We want you to take it off. Now, there are a couple other cities that they've already gone to, I think, and done that. So what's the city's position and what are you doing about it?
Well, our commission took a unanimous vote yesterday to appeal the decision. Ours is a rather expensive Art Deco piece of art using the Leonard Horowitz color palette. So it is not a typical rainbow, but it does represent the history of Miami Beach and all of the contributions by the lesbian, gay, LGBTQ community. And I will always advocate for love over hate.
The position at Florida DOT is, hey, it's distracting. They don't say we're against it because of this, other than it's distracting. What's your take on that?
This new rule by FDOT. Well, I think it's hurtful to many members and residents in my community, and I will always stand up against something that I feel is targeting one group of people in our community. But I do understand that there's a group of people that find anything rainbow very offensive. And but I am here to represent everyone. And we can appeal this legally and be successful with that, that would be great. But as mayor, I do not intend on fighting with other elected officials. I want to sit down at the table and have conversations and compromise and understand why people think the way that they do and be a unifying force at a time where I think people are really divided.
Speaking about divided, whenever I think about going to Miami Beach, I think about two things. No longer the entertainment, but I think about traffic and parking. What can the city do to try to make it less of a problem?
Well, one thing that we're working on right now, and we've been meeting with our new department secretary of transportation locally. We just got somebody new because our former South Florida secretary is now the director of transportation for Miami-Dade County. So we have good relationships with both of them. And I'm working on talking to the county about taking over our traffic lights because the county's technology is very old. And right now, if we want to change the light, we have an office
You said the
out at
county's
FDOT.
technology is old or the city's?
The county's synchronization technology could be better. Let's put it that way. And Miami Beach is willing to fund smart technology using AI. I would prefer to put a map of the whole city, give it to a company and say, synchronize our lights. Use AI, do whatever you have to do.
A button to do everything.
Right now,
is that
we have
you
to
at
say,
night pushing
hey,
that
right
button?
now, City of Miami Beach has to go, hey, Joe, over at the county, can you change that light from red to green? And that's really what's happening right now in a world where we can do this much.
I know you're joking, aren't you?
I am not. That is really how it operates at this very moment. And so, by the way, all the streets are different. Some are owned by the state, some are owned by the county, the city, but overall, the county has control. So we're petitioning the county to try to take over our traffic lights so we can synchronize them. We're about to get a new trolley system. We found that this freebie system, this on-demand system really works. We have more than 1,000 people a day. We have a freebie app in the city of Miami Beach. So you call freebie and within 10 to 15 minutes, you get a free ride in a Tesla. And we're using that all over Miami Beach. It works better than just being a circulator. Maybe the circulator is a thing of the past.
Might be. Let's talk about that extra water that gets on the streets during high tide sometimes or during certain parts of the year.
A lot of it is just from drain maintenance, but now we're cleaning out our drains every 6 months.
Say that one more time. I want to hear that again.
A lot of flooding literally happens because we have clogged pipes, just like you would at your house. And what we found, most municipalities and governments clean their drains once every 2 years. In Miami Beach now, we clean our drains once every 6 months. And we really need to get on a quarterly drainage system because many neighborhoods come to us and say, we are flooded. I just had this happen with a few islands in Miami Beach. We went into their system, which we built about 10 years ago, and we cleaned it out. And when we cleaned it out, it no longer flooded. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't need resiliency projects because those are front and center and we're working on those. But in some cases, it's just clogged and we've always flooded. But we take that very seriously. We're spending a lot of money on resiliency, big projects.
Let's talk about your sewer system. From people's homes and restaurants into the county, is it the county pipes or the city of Miami Beach to discharge water coming from people's homes?
I think it does go through county and Durham approval and stuff. But I mean, the biggest problem that we have is probably that federal mandate for the county to fix the sewer pipes that are going out into the ocean, because every once in a while we have tremendous high contamination levels of enterococci bacteria. So I have taken now, just yesterday, I passed an approval, and the administration didn't really like this, that we are going to work with the Surfrider Foundation, and they test water on a volunteer basis. And we're going to send text alerts. If your canal has extremely high levels, I don't want you paddle boarding and swimming around in it, and we're going to let you know.
So, Commissioner, do you have septic tanks at Miami Beach?
We do not. As far as I know, I don't think so. No. We are on municipal.
That's certainly a challenge for the county in that area, meaning on northeast. Not so much out west, but northeast. There are about 9,000-ish septic tanks that are like in an urgent place.
Leaking.
Yes.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, what is it the city can do to help people be acutely aware of dumping trash or dumping stuff in the ocean or recycling? And what can the city do to help people be more involved in that?
We partner with organizations like Clean Miami Beach, and we have a tremendous resiliency department. We're constantly doing beach cleanups, and Miami Beach communicates a lot about this. We have signage on our beaches, and the county is in charge of cleaning the beach, but we have supplemental resident-driven cleaning and non-for-profits that partner with corporations like this group, Clean Miami Beach. They're partnered with everybody like Prada, Delta, American Airlines. They partner, and everybody loves to do these beach cleanups, and everyone cares about clean beaches, clean water. It's our economy here, isn't it?
Yes. My grandson lives on the water. I'm with his parents, all right?
Okay.
And he was kayaking, and he came back and said, Grandpa, look, I found some trash, and he was holding a plastic bag. And it was so thrilling to see a 10-year-old acutely aware of that. That was from school. right?
What I have noticed, and during campaigns, I spend a lot of time at supermarkets because I'm always campaigning at supermarkets. I would say that more than half of Miami Beach residents all bring their own bags now to the supermarket. And I feel very guilty about any single-use plastic that I use now. But the new generation, for example, my legislative aide, Jackie, that you see over there, she doesn't drink out of plastic water bottles. She has her own water bottle. My daughter, Francesca, her own water bottle. Do you, or do you have a plastic water bottle? That's the question.
It's a very good point. Right?
So I have to change my behaviors, and I'm trying now to use tin and aluminum and not use single-use plastics.
A year and a half ago, somebody says to me, why do you have, I hate to say it, styrofoam cups for coffee? I go, I don't know. That's just the way.
Those are the worst,
Yeah, I go,
Michael Miller.
that was just the way we did that. Oh, so we all have to be reminded of that.
Yes, the older generation, we have to change our ways. But really, they should just ban these things at a higher level because we know that they're so horrific for the environment, especially single-use plastics. I mean, it's terrible.
And speaking of plastic and businesses, all right, we'll put aside straws. You mentioned earlier that some of the businesses are not had as much business as they did a year or two or three ago. What can the city do, and should it do, if anything, to help promote and support local businesses?
That's a huge part of my platform because we are down $100 million in economic activity in the last fiscal year alone. That's 4% reduction in tourism taxes, but it represents $100 million in economic activity. So I plan to market us because you know the power of marketing here at the community newspapers, and I think we can do more. Fill our convention center and really build a marketing team that says come back to Miami Beach. A lot of our retail had left because they were getting shoplifted and looted, and that is not the case anymore. But most importantly, people don't want to do business on Miami Beach from a business standpoint because we need to reopen businesses. We have vacancies along Lincoln Road, Washington Avenue, not Ocean Drive, but Collins.
The city just went through a $250,000 project to try to keep that part of the business away because you didn't want to get that. So how do you balance that?
We want tourism. Of course, we have 25,000 hotel rooms. So of course we want tourism. And that is partly making sure our convention center is programmed. And for businesses to come back, we need to cut through red tape because people come to Miami Beach and it takes them years to open a business. So I have a plan to work with our business and economic development department to really cut all the red tape and say, we can do pop-ups here and we're going to give you your building permit within a couple of months. And if we don't, we'll do X for you. So we need to go the extra mile now because we have a very bad reputation of having too many laws. If you look at our city planning and zoning code, it's just thousands and thousands of pages, and we need to cut red tape. And I see that not just myself, my colleagues, every single meeting, people are cutting red tape. Like, for example, before, if you wanted to paint your house, you had to go and pull this permit, have the planning department approve your color, even though it was picked from an approved palette of colors. Yesterday, we got rid of that in a pilot program. We said, go ahead, paint your building. We just want your building to look good. We don't want you to have to wait for the planning department. We're also saying that certain things can go under administrative review now instead of going before all of these boards: planning board, historic preservation board, design review board. It's expensive and it takes a long time. So we're saying, we're starting to see, we love our historic architecture and our city loves preservation, and the HPB, our historic, is very important. But in some of those other boards, it's not that we're going to relax requirements. We just want it to be more efficient.
Let's talk about police and firemen, who historically are called first responders. There's a lot of people in that category. And what a lot of people don't understand is that police, when they're out there, they're under that stress every day, wondering if the next car they stop has got a gun in there and whether they're going to go home. So mental health has taken it's come from the shadows and it's come out, and there's a lot of conversations. As you know, a former top executive with the police department last year was shot. The story was that he tried to kill himself. There was a fireman recently, a lieutenant, who took a gun and shot himself, right? And then a few years ago, we started seeing Michael Phelps goes on TV as a commercial, and he's talking about taking off mental health days. And then Simone Biles says, I need to take off some time to get my head straight.
So you're saying our first responders are suffering mental anguish?
Well, and so
we know that I think we allocated funds in this last contract so that they have extra funding for mental health. Can you imagine being a police officer in Miami Beach? I mean, it's one thing if you're in Key Biscayne, you're kicking back. Miami Beach, they have to be front and center all the time.
And so when I look at firemen, everybody loves the fireman. You getting a ticket. You don't like that policeman.
I love our firefighters. Right now, they're angry at me because they wanted to build a fire station where we had a community center in a very, I would say it was a Hispanic working class area of Miami Beach. And they were prepared to demolish the center. And I saved that center along with my colleagues after 10 years of trying to save it. So they are angry at me because they do not have their Gucci fire station right now. And I'm advocating to build it where it is. And so they are not supporting me this campaign cycle, but that does not, I support our first responders. And I hope that they'll come around and understand that a community center that has a thriving daycare and a senior lunchroom is very important for our community, and we can build that fire station someplace else, guys.
So April was Autism Awareness Month, so we've been that campaign for us. It really hasn't stopped, and the more you understand about disorders, the more you realize how prevalent it is. Carlos McGuire is the CEO of Jackson, was one of our speakers, and I asked him, what's the rate of autism, and is it more than before? He said, Michael, when we were young, we used to call them slow. And as soon as he said that, I started thinking about when I was in school, all the slow people. Today they have that diagnosis, for better, for worse, but they can start getting attention and start getting some care. What can the city do to help the parents become more aware, and the teachers, to watch for their children and see if they need to start getting help?
That's more of a Miami-Dade County public schools issue. But in Miami Beach, we are going to do an autism beach because we know that autistic kids love the sand. And so I'm currently working with the Boucher brothers to find a beach to designate, and children with any autism of any age, any individual will be able to come to this beach, and we will have certain paraprofessionals there to help them and equipment. So we're really excited about having, they wanted to call it Spectrum Beach or Possibility Beach.
So Possibility is a good one. So there's a program throughout the county that the policemen get training about autistic people, and also that the home can have a label on it. So if the policemen wind up there, they're going to know there's an autistic child there.
That's a great idea. I will put that on the agenda.
And I think that it's important. And Rachel
Jackie,
can
put that
tell
on
you
the
we've been
agenda.
a real advocate of that and allowing those conversations to flourish here. And I frequently talk to people about it. I can't tell you how often it comes up because we became aware of it. So I have that independent conversation with that. There's somebody I know who's autistic, and he wrote on LinkedIn.
It's not Grant, right? No.
No,
Just kidding.
Just
kidding.
No, that's just the ADD on steroids. So he put on LinkedIn, just because I don't smile doesn't mean I'm not happy. Just because I don't laugh doesn't mean I think it's not funny. We just process information differently. And when I watched this person grow to be able to express himself like that, it was wonderful to be able to see that. And there are literally thousands of kids and adults
suffering from autism. And I would have no problem doing professional development for our police or having some sort of designation, as long as it doesn't stigmatize the child by having some sort of autistic symbol at their home. But if it would help, then absolutely.
Rabbi Yossi Harlik started the Friendship Circle not in Miami Beach, 87th and 112th Streets. 20,000.
I know Rabbi Harlik. I've been to Israel with him. He's great. He's one of the most popular rabbis around.
I know, it's amazing, all right, to watch him grow and be able to help so many people. Is that we looked at his journey. He, 20 years ago, he said, let's develop a program at the Chabad where Jewish kids can work with other people to earn their community hours. And then came across Friendship Circle.
Miami Beach contributes to the Friendship Circle, I will have you know.
Well, stuff, congratulations.
Yes, we do.
And so what happened in there is that he wasn't looking for the Friendship Circle, he was looking for a program. And it's a wonderful thing that the way that worked out. And you can go on Sunday. I went over there. Oh my goodness, I was like stunned how beautiful it is there. And you see all the people that are donating their time, their energy, their assets, and making that more successful. So I hope that you can work more with him.
Thank you, Rabbi Harlik, for all you do.
All right, you hear that, Rabbi? All right. So let's talk about Sea Rise. What does this mean to people, businesses, tourists, and for homeowners?
Well, I mean, it means flood mitigation, and we're working on that. We have tremendous projects. Right now, we're completing a $100 million project on West Avenue. Then south of 5th, we have another $100 million project after that. And we have hotspots around the city. Probably for us, it just means a little bit higher cost sewer and water bills because we bond a lot of that through our stormwater bill. And so when you get a water bill in Miami Beach, it's not just water, sewer, it's water, sewer, stormwater. And so we are bonding. We're doing the work that needs to get done to maintain our bond rating, and we'll do it in neighborhoods that flood.
So there's been a lot of conversation about the county saying they had a $400 million deficit. Well, it turns out the first hearings today, but all of a sudden it has been solved, right? Where they could figure out how to make some changes. The part that we didn't like in particular, but to put it out there, a lot of the charities that were expecting, even though they weren't guaranteed, expecting money, were sort of stunned when it got reduced. But she's put most of the charities on notice. If we do it this year, don't expect it next year. So that should be interesting to see if we as residents here or businesses, whether we pick up the slack and try to help those local charities.
Well, I think that's how nonprofits worked in the past. It was mostly fundraising. But we have so much wealth in Miami-Dade County and so much new construction and investment that City of Miami, Miami Beach, Miami-Dade County, we give when we have. But if we're going through hard times, then those organizations will have to take a rejection. Miami Beach put in an additional $1 million this year for several arts and cultural institutions because the state of Florida also cut arts and culture funding. So, but we'll have to say to them, look, we're going to give you this funding, but you have to have a matching fundraising program too. So non-for-profits are going to have to come on the community news and get donations.
And I think that's important for them to understand that they have to do their part, all right, to make that work. And certainly we've done a lot of stuff here to make not just the public aware of it, but make them a little more aware of it. Hey, you just can't go over to the county and say, here, give me
a lot of money. There was so much COVID money. Money was just flying. So when people come to you, of course you want to invest in arts and culture and non-for-profits and rainbows and ice cream and all sorts of good stuff. But, but now they're really going to have to cut back. And with the state of Florida auditing the county and several municipalities, I mean, we're really going to have to look at our budgets.
When you remember after Hurricane Andrew, there was so much money in town that they were having a field day. And then 2 years later,
every time a state of emergency is declared, the money's a-flying. The funds are flying.
Do we have any more?
I didn't know that until I was in office, and I realized that. And I go, oh, that's what state of emergency means. It frees up funding. But I think we're living in a very different world now, where I don't know exactly what the role of FEMA is going to be and if those funds will open up the way that they did before. But I am confident that our state government will take care of us. I just got my new insurance policy, for example, and it's no longer a regular insurance policy. I had Citizens because they canceled me because I'm in a flood zone like Lloyd's of London. I went to Citizens. Then the state of Florida bumped me for something now called an insurance exchange, which is almost like an insurance collective. And this is a new policy passed by the state of Florida. So I'm sure other people have now been bounced to Manatee. It's insurance exchange. So it'll be interesting to see how this works too, because I think if they have surplus funds, then they apply it to your policy for the next year. So it's not just a regular insurance policy. It is really a community of people, and you grant the exchange a power of attorney to advocate on your behalf. Okay, so we'll see. New laws.
Well, your education did you some good, Professor. So tell us about your teaching that you've done.
16 years as a professor Kendall campus of Miami-Dade College. I'm actually teaching a full course load this semester too, while running for mayor and being a commissioner. So it's a lot of work, but it's wonderful. I wouldn't give up teaching for the world because my students really enjoy my class.
We have another teacher that's here. Rochelle, can you put the camera on yourself so we can see you? See that camera up there? She's going to be able to swing it around, I think. Can she? It's coming around. Where are you? You coming around? This is only your second time here. Come on down. Come on down. Here it goes. Where are you?
Oh, there you are, Rochelle.
Hey, why don't you wave to us? That's Rochelle. She's also a school teacher, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade down in Florida City. Rochelle, thank you
for all that you do, because that is not easy work. Yeah. You don't know. Children come to school sometimes and they are very upset, and you don't know what their situation is at home. So being a teacher is so much more than just educating. You are mothering a group of young children and dealing with mental health issues also. And It is not an easy job. So I salute our teachers.
So, Commissioner, I'm sure you've had a lot of people that have helped you along your way.
Yes, I'm very grateful.
And see this camera right over here? Can we put the camera on her? So why don't you talk to him right now if you like?
In Miami Beach, well, I want to thank everybody who has helped me in my political career, because with every vote that I've taken, I try to use common sense and compassion and represent everyone equally. And I do feel that I've been a great representative of Miami Beach. I have fought for people in referenda, and we saved the Byron Carlisle, the South Shore Community Center, the North Shore Oceanfront Library. I saved the surface parking lots, and these were things that I did for you. And I will continue working for the people of Miami Beach to make sure that we are safe and secure, because that is the most important, but that we're also economically thriving. And I really want to fix our commercial corridors. We have some blocks right now that are completely dead, and it breaks my heart. I want to make Lincoln Road and our historic district a place where everyone in Miami-Dade County wants to go out and wants to come back to. And it's not going to be easy, but I'm going to be dedicated to doing the best I can, making it happen.
Okay. What else do you want people to know about you?
What to know about me? That I think that I'm going to be an open door kind of mayor. And on the 4th floor of City Hall right now, we have a very closed door mayor. He does not really interact with the other commissioners, and I'm going to team build. Everybody will be in my office. Residents that don't come up to the 4th floor will come into my office. I'm very welcoming, inclusive.
How did you learn that?
Through many years of politics, mentors like Maddie Bauer, and I've seen other governments and how they can be more inclusive and better team builders. And I think that I'm in a place where I know how to bring people together and focus our entire commission on our goals, which is keeping us clean and safe, of course, but fixing our commercial corridors. You know, this current mayor has had Lincoln Road on the agenda for years, and he didn't call my items on Lincoln Road until I said the mayor's not calling my items on Lincoln Road, and Lincoln Road is dying. Now he's finally prioritizing it, but he doesn't even understand that why Lincoln Road is so important. It's our city center, and we have capital projects that we need to complete on Lincoln Road. We need to reattract retail and help our restaurants open up. I mean, we have a lot of work to do.
Where does this come from inside you?
I don't know. I love it. I love Miami Beach.
You were like this as a teenager?
I guess I've always been passionate about whatever I'm focused on. And sure, right now I'm in the middle of a mayoral race. This is pretty big for me, pretty big for the community.
How about when you were 10 years old? What were you like?
I don't know. Probably fun and outspoken. Everybody. I probably should have been a lawyer instead of a professor. But whatever that I'm focused on in that moment, I'm so excited. This morning I was at the Downtown Development Authority because we are working with them to seriously, finally have a water taxi that is subsidized by the government with the right operator that people are going to ride. We finally found a serious company during our Basel last year. We had 15,000 people take the water taxi. So the Downtown Development Authority reached out to us. We got $600,000 in funding from the state of Florida. And they said, well, how can we help? We love this idea. So I said, we need money and we need a dock in Miami. So we went over there this morning and we are going to work with them.
Is Ralph Rosado, City Miami Commissioner, was he on that board?
He was not at this meeting because this was the Urbanism Committee, but they're passing a resolution to pass to the DDA because they have a lot of funds. As people build these tall buildings, they are donating into funds for transportation. And we all believe in our waterways. The only thing that's stopping us from this big dream of a water taxi is something that the county has called the Manatee Plan. And we have to talk to them and explain to them that these water taxis are not going to necessarily interfere with the manatees. There's tens of thousands of boats out there, but we can't have a water taxi. So
I want you to think back when you're 8 and 10 years old. Tell us the influence your parents had on what you're doing now.
When I was 8 and 10 years old, my mother was always very supportive, but I was the youngest of 4 children. So my brothers and sisters were 10, 12, and 14 years older. So they kind of treated me like a doll. And I spent all my time just as part of Miami Beach, which was the Cuban community and all the older Holocaust survivors. I remember standing in line at the Rascal House and everybody would have a number tattooed on their arm. And my mother would say to me from a very young age, because you had to wait in line, remember? You couldn't just walk into the Rascal House. And I would say to her, what are those tattoo numbers? She said, those were Holocaust survivors. So I grew up understanding that struggle. I grew up during Mayoral. I was born in 1973. In 1980, I remember my mom took me clothes shopping for new school clothes shopping on Lincoln Road. And our car, everything got stolen when we went to have dinner at Wolfie's. And I remember my mom saying, well, we've had all these criminals come here from Cuba. So I've lived through it all. And I've seen our community blossom and grow, and Art Basel, and now billions of dollars in economic impact. It's pretty tremendous where we are now. So I believe in Miami Beach. I am Miami Beach.
Yes, you are.
I am.
Born and done, raised there.
Yes. Okay. That's right. So,
Commissioner, thank you very much for being here. If people need to reach you, they can find you all over the internet and every place.
Yeah, right? You can, KRG for MiamiBeach.com. My phone number is 305-965-4725. Alex Dowd, former mayor of Miami Beach, who recently passed away, used to say to me, always give out your number at the end of the interview. So, Alex, that was for you.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Commissioner, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks again for
having me. And I'm going to sign us out by looking at this camera over here. Folks, there's a rule that's called the Disney rule, which is when you hug someone, don't stop until they do. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.